As you are aware, DDBA 8100 Doctoral Study Mentoring is the first course students take where the chair is facilitating the course. However, as a student, have you ever asked yourself, why am I taking 8100? Or perhaps, as faculty, you may have asked, how can I make the most use of guiding students toward completion of their doctoral study? Students take four 8100 courses and should use these courses to start writing their proposal. 8100 should not be considered as a filler course or a course that takes a back seat to any other course taken in conjunction with 8100. Instead, 8100 should be viewed as a course where the preponderance of the proposal can be written, thus aiding immeasurably in the completion of the doctoral study within 5 DDBA 9000 courses or earlier in some cases. In this short video tutorial, I will focus on annotated bibliographies, which are the weekly application assignments in DDBA 8100. I will not go into the details of writing an annotated bibliography. Rather, I will focus on the process of utilizing the ABs in the weekly application assignments towards writing prospectus or proposal components. Specifically, I will define the term annotated bibliography, provide you with some outstanding Walden Writing Center resources that should be reviewed to gain an in-depth knowledge on writing annotated bibliographies. I will also discuss the importance of the ABs in DDBA 8100 and how the student can maximize the application of the annotated bibliography weekly assignments towards writing their prospectus and proposal components. I will then provide a brief example of how the ABs can be leveraged to complete prospectus or proposal components. This example can be extended to other components of the study. I will then shift the focus to discuss faculty requirements when providing feedback and guidance on the annotated bibliographies, and then I will provide recommendations for students when writing the annotated bibliographies. It is perhaps best to define annotated bibliography by defining the individual terms, annotation and bibliography. First, an annotation is simply a set of notes, comments, or critique that you write after you read an article or other scholarly resource. For example, you might read an article and write a brief synopsis or critique consisting of strengths and weaknesses of a particular argument presented by an author. Or perhaps you might discuss the population and their implications to the broader conversation on the topic. Regardless, the set of notes you take or the synopsis is known as the annotation. Second, a bibliography is simply a set of references. References provide the reader with the specific source for identification if they need to review the original article for further reading. This also is an example of why we need to have accurate references. Combining these two terms, the annotated bibliography is a list of references that not only identifies the sources of the information, but also includes information such as a summary, a critique or analysis, and or an application of those sources' information. As mentioned in the overview, I indicated I would provide excellent Walden Writing Center resources for writing annotated bibliographies. As I looked through the site, I found 3 excellent resources. One of those resources addresses how to write an annotated bibliography. Another source addresses annotated bibliography examples. Also, the Walden Writing Center did an excellent annotated bibliography webinar. So I would encourage you to take a look at these 3 resources before you start writing annotated bibliographies. They will be very, very helpful for you towards writing your annotated bibliographies. As I mentioned previously, The weekly annotated bibliography application assignments provide an excellent opportunity for students to write many components of their proposal. Starting in August 2015, students will be required to write 3 annotated bibliographies each week and then write a synthesis of these 3 annotated bibliographies. This synthesis reflects a completed section of the proposal. Here, you see a screen capture taken from the Walden Writing Center. As you can see in this example, the annotated bibliography consists of the reference, entry in proper APA format, a concise summary paragraph, an analysis paragraph, and an application paragraph. Please be sure to review the annotated bibliography resources I provided earlier. It is important to note there can be variations to the format of an annotated bibliography, and certain formats might be applicable for a specific prospectus or proposal component. Let's look at an example of how the annotated bibliography can be accomplished when writing the background of the problem component. As you are aware, the purpose of the background is to introduce the topic and problem you will address. You would want to briefly indicate why the problem deserves new research. The goal of this section is to encourage readers to continue reading, to generate interest in the study, and provide an initial frame of reference for understanding the entire research framework. Therefore, for one of your weekly application assignments, you would complete 3 annotated bibliographies addressing your topic, in this case, the background of the problem. These 3 articles collectively should contain the information needed to meet the rubric requirements for this component. You would then write a synthesis of these 3 articles, which would formulate the background of the problem. However, in some cases, you may need additional information to effectively complete a certain component. In this case, you would use the next week's annotated bibliography assignment, also consisting of 3 annotated bibliographies, to provide you with the additional information you need to write an effective background of the problem component. You would complete this process until you have a completed background of the problem component, one that aligns with rubric requirements. As with any application assignment, faculty is obligated to provide individualized feedback to each student. That is, faculty will not provide canned comments. Rather, the feedback will be individualized for each specific student's application. And this feedback should reflect both the content of the annotated bibliography and the APA component of the annotated bibliography. Also, faculty should provide students with recommendations and suggestions for future annotated bibliographies. I'll discuss some student recommendations for completing the annotated bibliography assignments. First, it might be helpful if the student establishes an annotated bibliography outline each term. For example, they may choose to address the background of the study component in week 1, and then the nature of the study component in week 2, etc., etc. Then the student should review the Walden Writing Center resources. Recall I provided 3 resources, the link to 3 resources in previous slides. Then the student would write the 3 annotated bibliographies. Upon completion of the 3 annotated bibliographies, the student would then write the synthesis. After writing the synthesis, the student would run the synthesis through Grammarly to ensure the APA and editorial components are correct. Then the student would place the synthesis in the appropriate location in their prospectus or proposal, depending on which document they're working on. Finally, they would submit the application assignment and wait for feedback from their faculty. And again, the faculty must provide individualized feedback on both content, APA, and grammar. During this brief video tutorial, we addressed annotated bibliographies. Specifically, I provided a definition for the term annotated bibliography. I provided you with Walden Writing Center resources that should be reviewed to gain an in-depth knowledge on writing annotated bibliographies. I discussed the importance of annotated bibliographies in DDBA 8100 and how the student can maximize the application of the annotated bibliography weekly assignments towards writing their proposal or prospectus. I provided an example of how the annotated bibliographies can be leveraged to complete the required components. The example I provided was for the background of the problem. However, it can be extended to any proposal or prospectus component. I also discussed faculty requirements when providing feedback and guidance. Specifically, faculty must provide individualized feedback for both content and APA/editorial components. Finally, I provided the students with some recommendations for completing annotated bibliographies and progressing in writing their prospectus or their proposal. Hopefully, you find this video tutorial extremely helpful. However, I still would like to point you toward reviewing the 3 resources that I provided in the Walden Writing Center. These video tutorials and webinars provided by the Walden Writing Center will provide you with very in-depth and detailed guidance on how to write the annotated bibliographies. Recall, what we have accomplished here today is just address the process and how and why it is important to write your annotated bibliographies in 8100 and write those annotated bibliographies so that they can hopefully be laid right into your proposal or prospectus once you synthesize the annotated bibliographies. On behalf of the DBA leadership team, I would like to wish you great success in your doctoral study journey. Thank you for your time in reviewing this hopefully very helpful video tutorial.